5 retirement spending lies most Americans believe. My man Savas sent this. The Greek Savas, who crushes. Old Savas out there. Said, I'm going to try to go to Crete. And Savas says, yeah, Crete would be your kind of people, Josh. I said, I like it. Probably like my people in Ireland. Where would County Cavan is my kind of people. I have a client of mine who, again, I consider a friend now. He's from Ireland. And my son's Cavan. And he actually sent me a Cavan Irish soccer football club shirt. And he was telling me about the people in Cavan County. I just had a kind of chuckle. Not sure they'd be my kind of people, but maybe, who knows? I was laughing. Anyway, so Savasa sent this to me, and it piqued my curiosity. Peak, P-E-A-K. It's not peaked, it's P-I-Q-U-E. Someone had written something the other day I saw. Oh man, I was like, you didn't actually, I forgot what it was. I was laughing. I was like, you didn't, what? I gotta think about this. I can't remember, but it was so funny. It was literally like how you hear the word, spelled out. And someone said, man, you really learned the verbal of that. I can't remember. Dude, I do that all the time, man. I'm guilty as charged. Just ask my wife. All right. I don't know. I haven't read this article, so I haven't seen it. I just see this guy right here. It's like, what? What you've heard may not apply to you. I have no idea what this article is about or Maury Backman is, but we're going to read it. All right, let's take a look. The average American had about 609,000 retirement savings accounts, but the median savings balance was just 200,000. Okay, that's not. What's that about? So let's keep going. Lie number 1: you need to spend less during the early stages of retirement. I completely agree with that, and that's why I'm working on my book. Again, to be determined the name, but the premise is the reverse required minimum distribution. So RMDs start low, they get bigger as you age. When you're less likely to spend, I want them to start high and decrease as you age, because as you age, you're not likely to spend. So I agree with that. You need to stick to the 4% rule. Yeah, that's just silly. Let's see how he tackles this. William Bengen, who divides 4% rule, has adjusted that over years. He favored 4.7% in 2021. Now it's 4.5 to 4.4 in 2022. All right. Anyway, all right. I agree with that. You need to stick to the same withdrawal rate throughout retirement. I completely agree with that. That's just stupid. Establishing a baseline withdrawal rate for your retirement savings is not a bad idea, but you shouldn't assume you have to stick with the same exact rate. That's why the whole thing about the 4%, all these rules are stupid, because no one's sitting there saying, nope, can't buy that freaking mouse thing. I got to stick to that 4% rule. No one does that, but it's a baseline. I get it. Nothing wrong with a baseline. All right, let's keep going. You don't need to worry about your spending if you retire late. Does anyone actually say that? Life expectancies have a way of surprising people. For this reason, it still pays to put thought into your spending and work with a financial advisor to create a withdrawal rate that makes sense now in the future. Yeah, okay. You should expect to increase your spending each year. Yeah, well, that's a big one right there. One big assumption you might make while managing your nest egg is your costs will rise each year due to inflation, but inflation may not rise yearly, so you shouldn't automatically increase your spending if there's no need to. Well, okay, but inflation does rise yearly, basically since 1913. We had the Great Depression. We're at deflation 1929 to 1933, essentially. We've had a couple years with small, tiny deflation, but inflation is going up each and every year. Now, we could challenge the premise of CPI, how we calculate inflation, which I do in my book right here. But inflation is an issue, and it does occur every year, essentially. But that's not why you challenge this premise of that your spending will rise each and every year. We challenge that premise because there's no evidence for it. The evidence is, again, I got to be careful what I say about a certain thing that the CDC recommends young children to get. I've always said, is there any evidence all these certain things are safe in the aggregate? And there is no evidence because CDC readily admits they've never done any studies. Now there is I just don't want to get into it, but there is no evidence of this. They say, oh, well, I'm like, okay. So the evidence doesn't exist that these things taken in the aggregate are safe. Okay, gotcha. And the same thing here. There's no evidence that that your spending goes up each and every year with inflation. Now, there could be some evidence that, hey, my grandma spent more in her last 2 years of her life than she did the previous 5. Well, that's evidence of a time frame of her expenditures going up, probably because of long-term care needs. You see what I'm saying? But that's not evidence of a gradual increase each and every year with a rate of inflation. It's just not there. And that's why I wrote about it in my book, Debunking Inflation Fears, Relax and Retire by your old buddy Josh. and you should get it. And I'm working on my next book now, which is like I just talked about, the counter to the RMD rule, where you start taking low, it builds higher and higher until you're 90 years old and you're taking 8%. Nah, dude, we want you to start high and take lower and lower. No, love your thoughts. Yeah, it was a good article, pretty cut and dry. Nothing wrong with that, but I'm not sure these are actually lies. But it's a good headline. Got me thinking about it, and I figure if I'm thinking about it, you might too. All right, love your thoughts. God bless. We'll see you, and don't forget to paw the like button. We'll see you.